On this DeBacco University video, we're going to explore manual cannabis plant takedown for harvest, something you might be familiar with, give you some tips and tricks, and to explain it a little bit more in detail here on this video lecture. All right, let's get into the manual cannabis plant takedown harvest regarding cannabis. So first off, physical labor is required. So this is the kind of pro and con to this method is that, as the name implies, this requires physically cutting down the plant by hand and transporting it to the next location, typically your drying location. However, this process can be incorporated into an operation that's also looking to do selective harvesting as a first step. So this manual harvest, this manual takedown, you can also go through do selective harvest first and then take larger plants a little bit later. So it does afford you that option. You can do a slightly staggered harvest. That manual harvesting for indoor growing is likely the only option, but it is easier when plants are being grown in containers. If you're growing outdoors, well, then if you're an outdoor grower, it's kind of like harvesting Christmas trees from the field, which requires energy and willingness to get a little dirty as you're kind of going through close to that soil line, cutting that plant down, picking it up, and transporting it to its next location there. So all part of the kind of fun of the manual harvesting process. Now, this is a very common procedure, so this is nothing kind of really new. Typically, the plant will be cut down at ground level with heavy-duty loppers, and this allows the entire plant to be easily handled and limits the need for unnecessary cuts, which can take more time and also more labor. We are seeing someone going through here and probably doing a little bit more of a selective harvest, maybe taking some of the larger buds, putting them into a separate container for a separate drying process there. This also helps hold the entire plant together for easy transport when you cut that entire plant down. And here, if you're taking a couple off, that's perfectly fine. And then the rest of the plant can be dried together. Great at keeping everything kind of collected together, easy for transport, and you don't kind of have a lot of little parts kind of missing. You also want to have forward thinking. So if you know you're going to be manually harvesting your crop at the end of the season, this may influence the variety you select to plant. Typically, selecting smaller plants would be preferred to allow you to actually be able to handle them. So you have to go through and do multiple, maybe cut it in half and cut that in half again to be able to handle the plant. Excessively large plants may have higher yields, at least on paper, but manually harvesting process will be difficult, leading to increased chance of plant damage, and this could reduce the total end product, or at least the quality of the end product. So it's always good to have an idea of how you'll be harvesting in the end, because that may be a contributing factor to influencing exactly what you plant, what variety of cultivar you plant, so that you can ensure that when it comes to harvest, you're not going to have any incidental loss to physical damage simply because the plants got too high, and only because you read it on the paper, oh, it's going to produce this much per plant. We want to make sure you can handle those in an efficient manner and you don't have a lot of physical damage, reducing your overall yield, cutting down on your total efficiency.